The restaurant went silent the moment he walked in. Not the polite kind of silence, this was the kind that tightened shoulders, slowed forks mid-air, and made people suddenly interested in their phones. Kang Minyi didn't need an introduction. His presence carried one. Tall, composed, dressed in a charcoal suit that looked like it had never known a wrinkle. He moved with the calm authority of someone who didn't ask for respect, he expected it. And tonight, he was on a blind date. He hated blind dates. "You owe me," he muttered under his breath, adjusting his cuff as he approached the reserved table. Across the room, a woman stood up awkwardly, waving both hands just a little too eagerly.
"Hi, Minyi?"
Heads turned not because of him this time but because of her. She was plus-sized, noticeably so. Her floral dress clung in ways that made her self-conscious. She adjusted it instinctively, her smile flickering between hopeful and nervous. Minyi stopped for half a second. This was the setup. His associate's idea of a joke. He exhaled slowly and walked forward anyway. "Yes," he said calmly. "You must be Hannah." She nodded quickly. "Yes, I'm so sorry if I got here early. I just didn't want to be late." "You're on time," he replied, pulling out his chair. She sat, hands folded tightly in her lap. For a moment, neither spoke. Then she laughed nervously. "So, blind dates, huh? Not exactly my thing either." He studied her. Most people tried to impress him. They wore masks, played roles, tried to match his world. She wasn't doing any of that. She was just there, honest, unfiltered, slightly trembling. "You seem uncomfortable," he said. Her cheeks flushed. "Is it that obvious?" "Yes." She looked down, then forced a small smile. "I just figured, when someone like you walks in and someone like me is already sitting there." Well, she didn't finish the sentence. But she didn't need to. Minyi leaned back slightly, his gaze steady. "Someone like you?" She let out a breath. "You know, I've been on enough dates to understand the pattern. The surprise, the disappointment, the polite exit strategy. I haven't left," he said. "Not yet," she replied softly. A waiter approached, breaking the tension. Orders were placed. Water was poured. Silence returned, but this time it felt different. "So," Hannah said, gathering a bit of courage. "What do you actually do?" He said. Most people either knew or pretended they didn't. "I run a business," he said. She raised an eyebrow. "That sounds mysterious. It's intentional." She smiled, and for the first time it reached her eyes. "Fair enough. I work at a community center, mostly with kids. That suits you." She blinked. "What does that mean, you're patient?" he said simply. She laughed, surprised. "You got that in 5 minutes?" "I observe," he replied. "Well then," she leaned forward slightly. "What else have you observed?" He held her gaze. "That you expected me to be cruel." The words hit her harder than she expected. "I didn't say that," she murmured. "You didn't have to." Her fingers tightened around her glass. "It's just easier to assume the worst. That way it doesn't hurt as much when it happens." "And has it happened often?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Enough." The food arrived, but neither touched it immediately. Minyi picked up his fork, then set it down again. "Why did you come tonight?" he asked. She blinked. "What?" "You knew the pattern," he said. "You expected disappointment. So why come?" Hannah stared at him, caught off guard. "I guess." She began slowly. "A small part of me still hopes." "For what?" "That someone might actually see me." The honesty in her voice was raw, unpolished, real. Minyi's expression shifted just slightly. "I do see you," he said. She let out a small, sad laugh. "You barely know me." "I know enough," he replied. Her eyes searched his face, trying to detect sarcasm. There was none. "Then tell me," she challenged softly. "What do you see?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he reached for his water, took a slow sip, and then set the glass down with precision. "I see someone who walks into a room expecting rejection and still chooses kindness." Her breath caught. "I see someone who's been made to feel small, but still makes space for others." Her eyes began to glisten. "And I see," he continued, his voice steady but quieter now, "someone who believes she's not enough, when in reality she's more than most people I've met." A tear slipped down her cheek before she could stop it. She quickly looked away, embarrassed. "You don't have to do that." "Do what?" "Be nice out of pity." His tone sharpened slightly. "I don't do anything out of pity." She wiped her eyes, shaking her head. "You don't understand. People say things like that. When they feel bad, when they want to soften the rejection. I'm not rejecting you. Her gaze snapped back to his. "Then what are you doing?" He leaned forward, resting his arms lightly on the table. "I'm telling you the truth." The restaurant noise seemed to fade into the background. "Why?" she whispered. It was a simple question, but it carried weight. Minyi looked at her for a long moment. Then he said, quietly, "Because no one told you before. That was it. That was the moment." Hana's composure broke not in a dramatic way, but in the quiet, overwhelming release of someone who had held too much for too long. Tears fell freely now, and she didn't try to hide them. "I spent years," she said between breaths, trying to be smaller, quieter, less noticeable. "I thought if I changed enough, someone would finally choose me." Minyi didn't interrupt, but they never did, she continued. "So I started thinking, maybe there's just something wrong with me." "There isn't," he said firmly. She shook her head. "You say that now, but I don't say things I don't mean." He cut in. Silence. Heavy. Honest. Then, unexpectedly, he stood. Hana froze, her heart dropping. Here it comes. Exit. The polite ending. But instead of reaching for his coat, Minyi walked around the table and pulled out her chair slightly. "Come with me," he said. She blinked. "What?" "Just for a moment." Confused, she stood. He guided her a few steps to the side, where a large mirror hung against the wall. "Look," he said. She hesitated. "I don't look." Reluctantly, she lifted her gaze. Her reflection stared back at her. But for once, she wasn't alone in it. Minyi stood beside her, not in front, not overshadowing, just there. "What do you see?" he asked. She swallowed. "Me? And?" She hesitated. "I see someone who's tired." He nodded. "Yes. And someone who's trying," she added quietly. "Exactly." She glanced at him. "That's not enough, though." He met her eyes in the reflection. "It is." Her breath hitched again. For the first time in a long time, she didn't look away from herself immediately. Something shifted, subtle, fragile, but real. After a moment, he stepped back. "Let's go finish dinner," he said. She nodded slowly, still processing. As they returned to the table, the whispers in the restaurant had changed. People were still watching, but now, it wasn't with judgment. It would, as curiosity, because the man everyone feared was treating her like she mattered. And maybe, just maybe for the first time, she was starting to believe it too. They returned to the table, but something had shifted. Not in the room, the whispers still floated. The glances still lingered, but between them. Hana sat down slowly, as if she was still catching up with the moment she'd just lived through. Her hands, once tightly clenched, now rested more naturally on the table. Minyi noticed. "Eat," he said simply, nodding toward her plate. She let out a soft, breathy laugh. "You always this direct?" "Yes." She picked up her fork. "It's kind of refreshing, Don." For a while they ate in a quiet that no longer felt heavy. It wasn't awkward anymore. It was steady, grounded. "You know," Hana said after a few bites, "this is the part where most dates start checking their phones." "I don't check my phone during meals," Minyi replied. "Of course you don't," she smiled. "You probably have people checking things for you?" He didn't deny it. Instead, he asked, "What about you?" She shrugged. "I usually pretend I got an important message. Makes leaving less embarrassing. You're not leaving tonight." The certainty in his voice caught her off guard again. "You sound very sure." "I am." She studied him for a moment, then looked down at her plate, pushing a piece of food around. "Can I ask you something, honestly? You've been doing that all night." She smirked faintly. "Okay, fair. But this one's different." He nodded once. "Go ahead. Why are you really here?" He didn't answer immediately. She continued, her voice softer now. I know this wasn't your idea. I could tell the second you walked in. So why stay? Why not just leave like everyone else?" Minyi leaned back slightly, his expression unreadable. "Because leaving would have been easy." She frowned. "And staying isn't." "No." "Then why choose the harder option?" He looked at her, really looked at her. "Because you didn't deserve the easy option." Her brows knit together. "That doesn't make sense." "It does," he said calmly. "People choose what's convenient for them, rarely what's right for someone else." She went quiet. "That's actually true," she admitted, a small pause. Then she asked, "So you stayed because it was the right thing to do?" "No," he said. "She will be." "And see a day." "No?" "I stayed," he continued, "because I was curious about me?" She asked, surprised. "Yes." She let out a soft laugh, shaking her head. "That's a first. You're different," he said. "Different how?" He tilted his head slightly. "You don't pretend." Her smile faded into something more thoughtful. I used to, she said. A lot. Tried to be the version of me that people would accept, and it was exhausting, she admitted. And it didn't work. So you stopped. I gave up, she corrected gently. He shook his head. There's a difference. She looked at him, curious. What's the difference? Giving up means you stopped trying, he said. You didn't. You just stopped trying to be someone else. Hannah sat back, absorbing that. No one's ever said it like that before, she murmured. They should have. She smiled faintly, but it didn't quite reach her eyes this time. Can I tell you something a little embarrassing? You've already cried in front of me, he said. I think we're past that. She laughed this time, genuinely. Okay, fair. She hesitated, then continued. When I found out about this date, I almost didn't come. I assumed as much. But then I thought, she took a breath, what if just once it's different? Minnie didn't speak. And then you walked in, she added, glancing at him. And I thought, yep, same story, now? She looked down at her hands. Now, I don't know what to think. He nodded slowly. That's a better place to be, is it? Yes, he said. Uncertainty means something changed. She let that sink in. Across the room, a group of men at another table whispered among themselves, occasionally glancing over. Minnie noticed. Hannah noticed him noticing. You're used to people watching you, aren't you? She asked. Yes. Does it ever bother you? No. Why not? Why not? Because their opinions don't change my reality. She smiled softly. I wish I could say the same. You can. She shook her head. It's not that simple. It is, he said. She raised an eyebrow. Oh, really? So I just wake up tomorrow and suddenly don't care what anyone thinks? No, he replied. You wake up tomorrow and decide whose opinion actually matters. That hit deeper than she expected. And how do I do that? She asked quietly. You start by removing people who never earned a voice in your life to begin with. She looked at him, something in her expression shifting again. You make it sound so easy. It's not easy, he said. It's necessary. Silence fell between them again, but this time it was filled with thought. After a moment, Hannah spoke again. Can I ask you something else? Yes. Has anyone ever seen you? She asked. The question caught him off guard. Explain, Dot. I mean, you read people really well. You notice things. You say things that matter. She hesitated. But has anyone ever done that for you? Minya didn't respond right away. For the first time that night, there was a flicker of something behind his calm exterior. Not often, he admitted. Why not? Because most people don't look past what I represent. And what's that? Power, he said. Control. Fear. She studied him carefully. And what are you? Without all that, he met her gaze. Someone who prefers quiet dinners. She smiled softly. That's a start. A small, almost imperceptible smile touched his lips. Then a phone buzzed. Not hers, his. The shift was immediate. Minnie's expression hardened just slightly as he glanced at the screen. Hannah noticed the change. Work? She asked gently. Yes. He didn't answer it. Instead, he flipped the phone face down on the table. You're not going to take that? She asked. No. Isn't it important? It can wait. She looked at him, genuinely surprised. For me? She asked before she could stop herself. He didn't hesitate. Yes. The word landed between them. Heavier than anything else he'd said that night. Hannah's breath caught. No one had ever chosen her over something important. Not like that. Not so simply. Not so unquestionably. She blinked rapidly, trying to steady herself. You're very confusing, she said with a soft laugh. I've been told that. I don't know whether to trust this, she admitted. You don't have to, he said. Not yet. Then what do I do? He looked at her, his voice quieter now. You stay. And this time she didn't question it. Hannah didn't leave. That alone felt like a quiet rebellion against every version of her past. Usually by now, she would have found an excuse on early morning, a fake headache, a polite smile followed by a rushed exit. But tonight, she stayed, not because she was certain, but because for the first time, uncertainty don't feel like rejection. It felt like possibility. Minnie watched her as she absent-mindedly traced the rim of her glass. You're thinking too much, he said. She let out a soft laugh. I don't know how to not do that. Then say it out loud. She glanced at him. All of it? Yes. She hesitated, then took a breath. Okay, I'm thinking this doesn't make sense, she admitted. You someone like you don't sit here for this long unless there's a reason. And I can't figure out if that reason is me or something else. It's you. The answer came too quickly, too easily. Her eyes narrowed slightly. See? That right there. It sounds nice, but it also sounds like something people say when they don't want to hurt you. I'm not people, he replied calmly. She held his gaze. Then prove it. A challenge. Clear. Direct. Minyi didn't flinch. How? She didn't expect him to ask that. I don't know, she admitted. Just be real with me. No filters. No careful words. He studied her for a moment, then nodded once. You want honesty? Yes. Fine, he said. When I walked in and saw you, I knew it was a setup. Her expression tightened, but she didn't look away. I assumed, he continued, that this would be a waste of time. The words stung, but she nodded slowly. That sounds about right. But I was wrong, she blinked. You talk too much when you're nervous, he added. Her eyes widened slightly. How you deflect with humor, he continued, unfazed. You apologize for things that don't require apologies, and you expect people to leave before they actually do. She went still. She swallowed, uncomfortably accurate. I told you, he said. I observe. She looked down, her voice quieter now. Is that all you see? No. She waited. You're stronger than you think, he said. But you don't trust it yet. Her fingers curled slightly against the table. And you're kind, he added. Not because you have to be, but because you choose to be even when it hasn't been returned. Her throat tightened. And, he finished, you're afraid that if you stop being that person, no one will stay. Silence. Deep, unavoidable. Hannah blinked back the sudden sting in her eyes. Okay, she whispered. That's enough honesty for one night. He nodded, respecting the boundary. For a moment, neither spoke. Then she let utter shaky breath. You know what the worst part is? She said. What? I can't even argue with you. That's usually how truth works. She gave a small, humorless laugh. Yeah, I'm starting to realize that. Across the restaurant, the energy had shifted again. A few people had stopped pretending not to watch. Phones were subtly angled. Whispers carried a different tone now, not just curiosity, but intrigue. Hannah noticed. They're staring, she said quietly. I know. Doesn't that bother you at all? No. It bothers me, she admitted. Why? Because I know what they're thinking, she said. They're wondering what someone like you is doing with someone like me. Minyi's gaze sharpened slightly. And what do you think? He asked. She hesitated. I think, she paused, choosing her words carefully. They're not wrong to wonder. He leaned forward slightly. They are, he said. She shook her head. Minyeno, he cut in, his tone firm but not harsh. They're wrong because they're asking the wrong question. She frowned. What do you mean? They're asking why I'm here with you, he said, when they should be asking why more people aren't. Her breath ought. You make it sound like I'm something special, she said softly. You are. She looked at him, searching for doubt. There was none. That's hard to believe, she admitted. I know. Then why say it? Because you need to hear it, he replied. She let out a quiet breath, her defenses wavering again. You're dangerous, she said suddenly. He raised an eyebrow. Explain, Dot. You say things that get under the surface, she said. You don't just stay on top. That's not dangerous. It is when someone isn't used to being seen like that. He considered that. Would you rather I stop? The question lingered. Hannah thought about it. About going back to safe, shallow conversations. About pretending. About leaving this night exactly like all the others. Then she shook her head. No. Then I won't stop. Another pause. Then can I tell you something else? She asked. Yes. I've never had a moment like that before, she said quietly. What moment? She gestured vaguely. The mirror. The way you made me look at myself differently. He didn't respond, just listened. I've avoided mirrors for years, she admitted. Not completely, but enough. Quick glance. Ease. Adjust and move on. Never really looking. And tonight, she said. I saw more than I expected, she said. And what was that? She met his eyes. Someone who's still there. A faint, almost imperceptible softness crossed his expression. Good, he said. She smiled, small but genuine. For a while, they sat in a comfortable quiet again. Then, unexpectedly, do you want to get out of here? Minyi asked. She blinked. What? It's loud, he said. Too many eyes. She glanced around, then back at him. Where would we go? Somewhere quieter. Her heart skipped slightly. In the past, that kind of invitation would have made her cautious. Suspicious even. But this didn't feel like that. This felt different. Okay, she said softly. He stood, reaching for his jacket. She hesitated for just a second, then stood too. As they walked toward the exit, the room seemed to part for them, not because of fear this time, but because something about the two of them didn't fit the narrative people expected. Outside, the night air was cool, grounding. Hana wrapped her arms around herself instinctively. Without a word, Minyi removed his jacket and placed it over her shoulder. "RS." She looked up at him, surprised. "You don't have to, I know," he said. She pulled it closer around her, the warmth settling in. For a moment, they just stood there. No noise, no eyes, just the quiet hum of the city around them. "So," she said softly, "where to?" Minyi looked ahead, then back at her. "There's a place," he said. "Not many people know about it." She smiled faintly. Mysterious again. "It's intentional." She laughed under her breath, then nodded. "Lead the way." The city felt different at night. Quieter but not empty. Alive in a softer way. Hana walked half a step behind Minyi at first, unsure of where to place herself. Not just physically, but in this entire situation. None of this followed the pattern she had memorized over the years. No awkward goodbye. No polite escape. No rejection wrapped in kindness. Instead, she was here, walking beside a man she didn't fully understand. And somehow, that didn't scare her as much as it should have. "You can walk next to me," Minyi said without looking back. She blinked, then quickened her pace slightly until she was beside him. "Was it that obvious?" she asked. "Yes," she smiled faintly. "You notice everything." Most things. They walked in silence for a bit, the sound of their footsteps blending with the distant hum of traffic. After a few minutes, Hana glanced at him. "Where exactly are we going?" "You'll see," she laughed softly. "You really like saying that. It works. Not for people who overthink." He glanced at her briefly. "You're still here. Good point." Another pause. But this one felt lighter. Eventually they turned down a quieter street, less crowded, dimly lit, lined with older buildings that carried a kind of quiet history. At the end of the street, there was a small staircase leading upward. Minyi stopped. "This way." Hana hesitated for just a second, then followed him up. At the top she stopped. Oh, it wasn't fancy. Not extravagant. Just a rooftop. But it overlooked the city in a way that made everything feel distant. The lights stretched endlessly, glowing like scattered stars below them. A soft breeze moved through the space. There was a simple bench, a small table, nothing more. "You come here often?" she asked, her voice quieter now. "When I need silence." She stepped forward slowly, taking it in. "It's beautiful," she said. "Yes," she turned to him. "Why bring me here?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he walked over to the edge, resting his hands lightly against the railing. Hana followed, standing a little distance away. "I don't bring people here," he said finally. That made her pause. "Then why me?" He looked out over the city, not at her. "Because you wouldn't pretend to understand it." She frowned slightly. "I'm not sure I do understand it. That's the point." She leaned against the railing, her shoulder brushing lightly against his jacket that still hung around her. "Most people try to fill silence," he continued. "They talk, they ask questions, they try to make the moment something, and I don't. You let it exist." She smiled softly. "That's because I'm usually too busy overthinking what to say." He glanced at her briefly. "It works in your favor." She laughed under her breath. For a while they just stood there. No pressure, no expectations, just the city and the quiet between them. After a moment, Hana spoke again. "Can I ask you something a little personal?" "You've asked worse." She nudged him lightly with her elbow. "Okay, fair. But this one might actually matter." He nodded once. "Go on." She hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "You said earlier, people see what you represent. Power, fear." She paused. "Do you ever wish they saw something else?" Minyi didn't respond right away. The wind shifted slightly, brushing past them. "Sometimes," he admitted. She looked at him, surprised by the honesty. "What would you want them to see?" He was quiet for a moment longer. Then nothing. She blinked. "Nothing? Yes. That's not what I expected. I don't need to be seen," he said. "I need to be understood. There's a difference." Tana considered that. "And do people understand you?" she asked. "No." She smiled faintly. "That makes two of us." They got a small reaction from him, barely noticeable, but real. "You understand more than you think," he said. "Maybe," she replied. "Or maybe I just recognize certain things." "Like what?" She leaned back slightly, looking up at the sky. "Like what it feels like when people decide who you are before you even speak." He didn't interrupt. "Or when they reduce you to one thing," she continued. "Your appearance. Your reputation, your
whatever
they think defines you. She glanced at him. It's different reasons for us, she added. But the feeling, it's kind of the same. Minyi's gaze lingered on her for a moment longer this time. You're not wrong. She smiled softly, then looked back out at the city. Funny, isn't it? She said. Two people who don't fit into the same world, ending up in the same place. Not that funny, he replied. Why not? Because you assume we don't belong in the same world. She tilted her head slightly. Don't we? No? That's it? Just no? Yes. She let out a quiet laugh. You really don't overcomplicate things. There's no need to. She looked at him again, studying his expression. Do you ever get tired of being so certain? No, I do, she admitted. I'm certain about all the wrong things. Like what? She hesitated. Like thinking I'm not enough, she said quietly. The words lingered in the air. Mignier didn't respond immediately. Instead, he turned fully toward her. Say that again, he said. She frowned slightly. What? What you just said? She shifted uncomfortably. It's not exactly something I enjoy repeating. Say it. There was something. In his tone, not forceful, but firm. Grounded. Hannah took a breath. I think I'm not enough. Silence. Then wrong. She blinked. You can't just you are enough, he said, his voice steady. You've just been surrounded by people who made you believe otherwise. That doesn't make the feeling go away. No, he agreed. But it makes the feeling a lie. She looked at him, her eyes searching again. You really believe that? Yes, even knowing everything you know about me. I don't need to know everything, he said. I've seen enough. Her chest tightened slightly. You make it sound so simple, she whispered. It is simple, he said. It's just not easy. She let out a slow breath. Yeah, that sounds about right. The wind picked up slightly, causing her to pull his jacket a little closer around herself. Without thinking, she stepped just a little nearer to him, not out of necessity, but because it felt natural. Minya noticed but didn't comment. Instead, he said quietly, You're not the person they think you are. She looked at him. And you're not the person they think you are either, she replied. For a moment they just stood there, closer. Now, not touching, but not distant either. Something unspoken lingered between them. Not rushed, not forced, just there. Hannah broke the silence first. Tonight doesn't feel real, she admitted. It is, I know, she said, but it feels like one of those moments that doesn't last. Minya's gaze didn't waver. Then don't decide that yet, he said. She studied him carefully. You always talk like you already know how things will go. I don't, he replied. Then why do you sound so sure? He paused for a brief second, then said because I don't walk away from things I choose. Her breath caught slightly. Before she could respond, a sudden vibration broke the moment. His phone. Again. This time it didn't stop. Once, twice, 3 times. Anna glanced at it, then back at him. Minyi. He didn't move. The phone kept buzzing. Persistent, insistent, important. You should probably, I know, he said quietly. But he didn't reach for it. Not yet. Instead, he looked at her. And for the first time that night, there was something in his expression that wasn't calm. Something heavier. And whatever it was about to change everything. The phone didn't stop vibrating. Minyi stared at it for a long second, jaw tightening just slightly. Hannah noticed the shift immediately. That's not a normal call, is it? She asked quietly. No, he admitted. Then you should answer it. I will. But he didn't move. Not yet. The silence between them stretched fragile, almost suspended. Minyi, she said gently, whatever that is, it matters. His gaze stayed on her. So do you. The words came out low, firm, and without hesitation. Hannah's breath caught, but this time, she didn't let herself fall into it. Don't do that, she said softly. Do what? Make me the reason you ignore something important. You're not the reason, he replied. I'm choosing this. She shook her head, stepping back just a little. That's not fair. To who? To you, she said. And to me. That made him pause. For once, she continued, her voice steady despite the emotion building underneath. I don't want to be the moment someone regrets choosing. His expression shifted, subtle, but real. You wouldn't be, you don't know that, she replied. Neither do I. The phone buzzed again. Louder this time. More urgent. Hannah L. Looked at it, then back at him. Answer it, she said. This time he did. He turned slightly away, bringing the phone to his ear. Yes. His tone changed instantly. Sharper, controlled, listening more than speaking. Hannah watched him from a small distance, arms wrapped lightly around herself, still wearing his jacket. She couldn't hear the words, but she could see the weight of them. His posture straightened, his eyes hardened. The softness from moments ago disappeared behind something colder, familiar to him, foreign to her. Understood, he said finally. A pause. Then no, I'll handle it. He ended the call. For a second he didn't turn back, and in that second Hannah felt it. The shift, the reality. This wasn't just a man who liked quiet rooftops and honest conversations. This was someone who lived in a world she didn't belong to. He turned around. Their eyes met again. Different now. Not disconnected, but aware. I have to go, he said. She nodded slowly. I figured. Silence settled again, but not the same kind as before. This one had edges. Is everything okay? She asked. No, he answered honestly. She appreciated that. Is it dangerous? He didn't respond right away. Then yes, that was enough. Hannah exhaled slowly, processing. Then you definitely shouldn't be here, she said. I'm aware. Another pause. Neither of them moved. Thank you, she said suddenly. For what? For tonight, she replied. For not leaving. For everything you said. His gaze softened just slightly. I meant it. I know, she said. And for the first time she really did. She stepped forward, gently slipping off his jacket and holding it out to him. Here. He didn't take it immediately. Keep it, he said. She shook her head with a small smile. I think you'll need it more than I will. A faint exhale left him almost a quiet acceptance. He took the jacket. Their fingers brushed for just a second. It lingered longer than it should have. Then separated. So this is it? She asked softly. For tonight, he said. She nodded. That's fair. He looked at her like he was memorizing something. Not her face, not just that. The moment. The version of her that stood here now, stronger than when the night began. You're not the same person who walked into that restaurant, he said. She let out a quiet breath. Hink. That's a good thing. It is and you? She asked. Are you the same person? A brief pause. Then no. She smiled faintly. Good. The city hummed below them again, as if reminding them the world hadn't stopped, only they had. Will I see you again? She asked before she could stop herself. Minyi didn't answer immediately. Not because he didn't know, but because this wasn't a question he could answer simply. Instead, he stepped closer, not too close, just enough. You don't need me to keep becoming who you were tonight, he said. Her chest tightened slightly. I know, she replied. That's not why I asked. Another pause. Then, if our paths cross again, he said quietly, it won't be by accident. She held his gaze. That sounds like something out of a movie. It's not. She smiled anyway. Still sounds like it. For a moment neither moved. Then he stepped back, just slightly, enough to create distance again. The kind that reality demands. Get home safely, he said. You too, she replied. A beat. Then he turned and walked toward the stairway. No hesitation, no looking back. Hannah stood there, watching until he disappeared. And even after he was gone she didn't move. The rooftop felt different now, quieter, but not empty. She turned slowly, walking back toward the railing. The city lights still stretched endlessly before her, but something had changed, not out there, in here. She rested her hands lightly against the cool metal, taking in a slow breath. For years she had believed she needed someone else to choose her, to prove she was worth staying for. Tonight someone had, but more importantly for the first time she hadn't needed them to. She stayed a little longer, letting the night settle. Then finally she turned and walked down the stairs, alone but not the same.